Boom, boom. How's it going? How's it going? Welcome aboard. It is I, TJ, and we are at it again talking about real estate. And today I've got a guest, an M5 successful friend. Like it is, we bring out successful friends on a Friday, people that are killing it in their own right. And I've got Lesetja today, and Lesetja we've been like checking each other out for the longest time, and today he's here now. Lesetja, good morning, good afternoon, Kunjani, and everything, 12 languages. How's it going?
Thanks a lot, TJ, and you can say good morning, goeiemorgen, middag, all of them. But thanks for the opportunity, TJ, and thanks for being here.
Awesome stuff, awesome stuff. Lesetja, you've got a unique name, bruh. I've never met anyone with the name Lesetja. You were my first one. I was trying to figure out how do I pronounce this name? But where's the name from?
I actually get that a lot, TJ. And whenever people ask me, but your name is it's not so familiar. I always say to them, do you have a banknote with you? Yes, they said, yes, I do. How much is it? It doesn't matter the denomination. Can you just check who actually signed for it?
Yeah.
Because the man who signs for our banknotes at the moment is Lesetja Toona. So the Reserve Bank governor. So he's Lesetja.
No, that I figured out, but I only figured out after I met you.
Yes. So my name it's going towards that same with the governor. So it's right. Lesetja. It's from Bapedi. I'm actually from Limpopo, Colony area.
It's a petty name.
It's a petty name. It's more like to sort of to abandon, which I always say it's more of to abandon the bad ways and you move into the right ways.
Right.
So it's to Lesetja, it's like Taurai, more like to live, to forsake, go on a straight narrow. So and basically that's
doing exactly that with the interest
rate. You thought he was going to go down again.
Yeah, I'm sure he will before the end of 2020. That's my view, but I'm not highly intellectual to that level. But I think we're going to get another cut.
I doubt.
Yeah,
I actually thought that
December is around the corner. Nonetheless, let's say you are in the property space, and how did this come to be for you? Where did it start?
In actual fact, I was never into property. It actually started in 2008 when I was looking at buying my first property.
Right.
In a way, I've always believed that one needs to have that asset class. So I went out looking for property, staying in Pretoria North, because I traveled a little bit. Started working here in Pretoria. And moved to Bloemfontein, moved to PE. From PE, came back to Pretoria. Then I said, now I need to settle. Let me start looking for a house. So I saw development. I saw some properties. But there were a lot of things that I just did not understand about the whole property concept and what it involves and the OTP. I remember one day, because I was actually going to stay with my brother. So we went to view one of the new development. It was new at that time. Wonder Park Estate in Pretoria North. And because you go and view a show house, very nice and nicely laid. And we liked it and took an offer to purchase and signed it. And a day later, I said, no, there's something that I don't understand. So I requested them to email me a copy. They did. And I said to them, you know what, I need to pull out. Because I don't understand what it involves. They would say, no, we'll do everything. Don't worry, you will qualify and all those other things. But eventually, I managed to in a way to get out of that contract, and I started doing a research about the whole property industry. There was a lot of things that I just did not understand, and my journey led me to being an estate agent. Well, I was an intern at that time because I was not a fully fledged agent. Being an intern and join a company, small company, start corp based in Pretoria North, where they were selling some developments. That's basically how I entered the property journey. And I was still doing it because I was a full-time employee still now. And I was doing it on a part-time basis. So though in a space of a year, I think I managed to sell only one property, but it is the amount of years, it is the amount of lessons that I learned that I appreciated more than anything else. So I think it laid a foundation for me. By the time I went to buy a house, I then began to understand some of the concepts, not fully so, but began to understand some of the concepts in terms of buying and selling. So I only did one transaction in over a year.
When was this?
That was in 2009, because I joined them. I started looking for a house in 2008. So bought my first house in 2000 end of 2008, then joined the company in 2009.
And what's your background? Because you mentioned that you got a full-time job and you became an estate agent as part-time. And for the whole year, you are potentially doing stuff, marketing and all of those things, and you get like one contract. But your main source of income, what's your background? What do you do?
I'm working for government. Even then at the time, I was working for government. The
Sure.
government employee, finance manager. I'm currently a senior manager within in finance within government as well. So I was a government employee. So I was doing it on a part-time basis. But every Saturday, I would go out and do the show house and spend money on advertising, because as when you start, especially again when it's a small company, some of the costs you have to bear them yourselves. So I bore those costs myself, and like I said, I don't regard that as a loss, given the lessons that I have learned from that journey.
But now, Lesetja, I mean, I'm going to ask a question here where a lot of times we hear people that say, if you're a government employee, you'll never be out of a job unless you work yourself out. But there you are, you've got a job, stable job, finance, managing finance for the government, but you are starting a sideline. Like, why? Your job is secured.
Look, it's I think in a way I've always been entrepreneurial. I was actually speaking to my wife the other day and saying, I don't think I've actually given myself enough credit. I've always been entrepreneurial. I remember when I went to boarding school. I went to boarding school at what do they call it now? Grade 11. The last 2 years of my high school.
Sounding so old, man. When you say what do you call it? It's
I am
grade 11.
TG. That's great. In our days, it was not grade 11. It was standard 9.
You speak for yourself. I am not from there.
So when they prepared us to go to boarding school, and so I saw a camera at home that had been lying there for a number of years. You know those old cameras, not digital cameras, old cameras that you put in a film. Yeah. So I took that camera to the boarding school. I don't know. Firstly, I did not know if that camera was working, and I have never even operated a camera. So I took that camera to boarding school, and when there, I'm still new, by the way. So I said, no, I'm a camera guy. So there was already a cameraman, not one of the students, but a cameraman who was taking pictures, and you take pictures over the weekend, and you would go to town and do the films, and then from there you'll get the actual pictures. So I said, no, I'll do that. If he's charging 5 rand, I'll charge 3 rands. Then the students started coming to me. Okay, no, it's fine. You've got a camera. Then it was flashing. It's got had a flashlight and started taking pictures. Remember, I'd never used that camera before, TJ. So, and one of the rules was you give me a deposit. So I'm not gonna use my money. You give me a deposit, 50% deposit, the balance when you get your pictures. Yeah. So they paid. Then I had to go to town. When I went to town, took the film to town to have it washed, and let me tell you, DJ, it was a disaster. That's how my career as a cameraman ended. It ended disastrously. So that's how it ended. And I went to tertiary. They call it TUT now, Toona University of Technology. I went to the Soshanguve campus. It was TNT at that time. Yeah. So I used to sell cell phones, right. Not stolen cell phones. So usually when students are broke, they sell their cell phones. Okay. So if I was broke, I always made sure that I at least had 500 rands. Right. Because I'd buy 300 rands or even negotiate below that and go and sell it. The minimum at the time, it was 5110 Nokias. Yeah, then I would sell it for 500 rands. So that's how I made money, started making money until I lost it all. When the whole thing of scams started. So an advert in the newspaper, replied to it, deposit the money and indicate which cell phones do you want, and you will get them, we'll courier them. That's how I lost my money. So I paid, went to the bank, deposited the money, and I faxed the order form.
What did you do?
I deposited because I replied to a newspaper advert.
Right. And
they indicated the cell phones that you wanted. Right. You ticked, they were way below the market. Right. And it was the newer ones now. Yeah. I wanted to move from the 5110s to the Sony Ericssons of that time, the color screens. Yes. Then so what I did is, I also showed to the students and say, no, I'm actually getting a stock now. Before I even place the order, I'm getting a stock now. Which one would you be interested? So I ordered based on what the students wanted. Sure. But I didn't take the deposit, fortunately, that time. So I used some of the money that I had. I think it was about it.
You went from your camera days.
I guess so. So I had about 1,005. So I was actually going to get about 6 cell phones, and I knew how much my profit was going to be. So I replied to that, completed the form, went to the bank, deposited the money, and faxed them the order form together with the deposit slip. That was on a Tuesday.
What's a fax?
The fax, what do they use these days?
Machine.
A fax machine, yes.
Yeah, we're using the fax machine, because like these days we don't have fax machine. What is a fax machine?
So we're using the fax machines at that time.
Yeah. But whilst we are on that, Lesetja, now you're getting a lot of lessons here, man, in your previous businesses. How did you then switch from stock of material stuff into assets, which is property?
Like I indicated earlier, it started when I was looking for a house. Right. Then I bought a house, and I said,
this house was your primary house where you were staying.
That's my primary house.
Sure.
And sometimes ignorance can be bliss, TJ.
Sure.
So one day, I've got a house. I am walking to the mall, Wonder Park Mall. So there is that new development that I mentioned where I initially put an offer but did not buy it eventually. Yes. So I am walking to the mall. Then I see a poster, auction. That was around 11:15. And the auction starts at 11. I said, you know what? I've got so much time. What the heck? Let me just go and see what's happening. I went there. They were selling 2 units. So remember my intention, I was going to a shop. I had an issue with my cell phones, going to an NTL shop. Then I saw a board. I went there. They allowed me in. Then I said, no, I'm here for the auction. They said, no, you're the only one.
Really?
I was not going to bid. They said, no, but can you register? I asked, can I register? I said, no, you can register, but I don't have my ID with me. The only thing that I have, any form of identification, it's my driver's license. Any other things I don't have.
And
I've not done.
Is this a private auction?
It's
Like
a private. No, it's a private auction.
Right.
The lady were actually friends. She was an agent at the time, and still is. So they were selling it through it was a Nedbank's property, in fact, selling it through the agent. Then I said, but I don't have any form of identification, nothing. So fortunately, they also did not require deposit. So I knew very little about auctions. Then they said they're selling 2 units. Okay. I asked, what's the market? At least I knew from my experience as an agent. So I knew how much they were selling for. I asked that, she told me. Then she said, but you're the only one. Okay, what do you do? Okay, formally, let's start the auction. It's 11 o'clock. Start the auction, read the conditions of the auction, which I did not understand them very well. Then the next thing, we are selling this one. Either you sell them as an individual unit or as a combo. I said as a combo.
Oh.
You know what Lesetja did? He raised his hand. I was because I was the only one. Yeah. Then I became a successful bidder, and my bid was accepted. Unfortunately, they did not want a deposit.
Right.
And in a way, I was conscious of my credit profile. I knew from the bank I would qualify.
Good.
Then I wasn't certain if I would qualify for the 2 units. So what I did is that I signed an OTP for both of them. I called my friend. It's my former friend. It is that deal that we are no longer friends now. I called him and say, yeah, I know you've actually been looking, you wanted to invest in property. I've got a property that I have negotiated. The only thing that you need to do is just to bring a payslip. And you go and apply to the bank. There's nothing that you need to do. I'll assist you to get tenants. Then he agreed. So I got the 2 bedrooms.
Gentleman's handshake.
Yes. I bought, it was a 2-bedroom flat. The other one was a 1-bedroom flat. So I gave him the 1-bedroom flat. Okay. I took the 2-bedroom flat.
Right.
That's how I bought my first investment property.
So what was the market value, and how much did you successfully bid since you were alone?
I took them for 500,000. The 3 bedrooms.
Both of them?
Both of them, yes.
Right, okay.
3 bedrooms, brand new ones, were going for 450. The 1 bedrooms were going for around 300, 350.
Okay, so you got them 55, 60%. Okay, so you got like a 35, 40% discount. I would have just gone like wild, man. I would have.
I had no education, TJ.
Yeah, for sure.
Remember, I was walking, going to the mall. Then I saw this board.
Yeah.
And I was going there as a spectator.
Yeah.
Not to go and bid. I had no deposit. I had absolutely nothing.
You know what this teaches me, Lesetja? A lot of people, they generally throw in comments to me, TJ, you're lucky. And I'm like, this is lucky. What you're talking about. But lucky without being prepared is not luck.
True.
Because luck can present itself, and if you're prepared, you can slay it. But I mean, you did well, even though, this is like 40% below market on unprepared, and well done, man.
Then that's how I began my investment, my investment journey. My property investment journey basically began. Remember, I had no knowledge. Sure. I had a knowledge as an estate agent, an intern for that matter. So not as an investor. I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but the application of it, that contract of the investor, I thought it was for some billionaire and millionaires. never
Right.
saw myself as being part of that contract, but rather as part of a small business, not as an investor. So the investor to me, it was actually a foreign language because for you, my understanding at that time was that for you to invest, you actually require a lot of money, which I didn't
Sure.
have at that time. And I got my property, put tenants in there, and I had been managing my properties self-managed since then.
Where are you now? I mean, there you are by mistake. The gods are happy with you and then they give you something, right? And you take it and now when was this now? 2012?
2010.
2010, right? They
Yeah.
literally gave you something. Like, there you are. And you now started to learn a little bit more. How much have you grown that now?
Unfortunately, I sold that one. You see, that's one of the reasons, the lack of education.
Right.
I'd been buying and selling when I'm broke,
Right.
as if property it's liquid. Whenever I was broke, I would sell my property instead
Right.
of refinancing them because that was the education that I did not have. I would go and sell them. I sold that unit, but currently I'm sitting with 5 units.
Right.
But I sold that unit, and it wasn't until last year when I attended one of the seminars,
Right.
and I said, you know what, I am taking this as a business.
Before that, Lesetja, so how many have you sold?
I sold,
That
including
you
my
that
first.
that that you think you might have potentially kept, the ones that you would think that this would have been a good deals, had I known what I know now. I don't know if you've done that exercise at all, but thumbs
I,
up.
I I have, and I always kick myself. I always kick myself, TJ.
It's a painful exercise. Tell
It's
us.
it's very painful. I actually sold 4 units during
Wow.
that time. I've been buying and selling about four and sold for those 4 units.
So you could have been at 10 units strong, and
At the
over a
moment,
period of
absolutely.
10 years, uh, buying correctly and having them also paying off the debt, you could have been halfway through.
I think I've had this ability. I could buy. I've always
Right.
bought below market because I remember one of the units that I bought. Um, you know, I've always buy units without actually seeing them. There's this one that I bought. My wife is from Botswana, so that day I was traveling to Botswana, and I couldn't attend the auction.
Right.
So I called them. They said no, they do accept post auction offers. Then I called them on Monday. Okay, I couldn't attend the auction. What was the highest bid? They said it's 100,000. Can I submit my bid? Says no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I asked the agent, how much do you think will be an acceptable bid? He said probably about 120, he said 140,000. I
Right.
submitted my bid of 125,000. And remember, I only had one chance. So they'll have to go to the guy who attended the bid to match that offer. If he matches that offer, then I get my deposit back.
Right. Right.
That's how I bought one of the units that I had not even seen. I
What
just
was the
basically
value though?
it was about 300. It was in the same complex, not the same unit,
Okay.
the same complex where I bought the other one. Where one of my friends, I basically gave my friend that deal, the 1 bedroom flat.
You're a generous guy, man.
It was. That's why I'm saying that is a deal where we are no longer. Unfortunately, we are no longer friends.
It's either you're generous or, yeah, let's
I
move
guess
on.
I'm. I guess I'm too generous. I guess so. So I've always had the ability to spot and buy low.
Right. It's in your
Then I
blood.
would
You just don't know
then
it.
then I would sell it.
Yeah. With
That's
with what you now know now, Lesetja, what, you've got the ability to buy low. That is just in your blood. It's just within you. Opportunities come up to you, and you just nail them. with what you now know now, what are you doing different now? Because I've seen you in so many circles of property investments, property education, and things like that. What are you doing now to grow from the 4 that you've got, plus your primary residence? You know, we're packing that one. But what are you doing now to grow that? Because me and you have had conversations where you've said to me, TJ, I'm doing A, B, C, D, X. But you've had a long journey of lessons. And some of it here has been intentional, and some of it with where you are. You've matured. You've matured in brain. You have matured in your thinking now, and you are seeing exactly where you could have done things better. And had you done things differently, it could have progressed you from where you are. But that's all home. That's all school fees. We all pay school fees in different manner.
True.
What are the couple of things that you are doing now to make sure that when luck strikes again, like it did, you are ready?
Look, I've been like I said, that was a school fees that I paid.
Sure.
And I have been firstly connecting, making sure that I connect with the right people,
Right.
and attending seminars and webinars. From last year, I attended one of the seminars, and where eventually I ended up paying, so it was almost 70,000, but just the two of us, where we had coaches. So I took that. I decided last year, and I spoke to my wife, that I want to take the property as a business,
Right.
because my intention is I want to do the investing full time. So I would want to leave my full time employment and be a full time property investor. So
Right.
that's my goal, and I was very unequivocal about it. That is
Right.
exactly what I want to do. And I am working towards that. And how do I do that? So by educating and empowering myself. So you'd think that you've reached a limit because of the bonds that you have. So, one of the things that I've done since then, based on the lessons that I have learned, was to structure my portfolio and
Right.
say, you don't have to own these things. I don't have to sit amongst myself and say, I own 5 properties. So it's not about ownership.
Yeah,
It's
but
about
then we are going to say you're not rich then.
it's about control. It's not about perception. You don't have to, for people to have a perception of you being rich. You could be rich and look poor, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes. So I said I want to do it as a business, and the lessons that I've learned was to structure, which I did, and we got delayed by some of the transactions by COVID, and fortunately some are going through now. And
Right.
I also said, because of the lessons that I have learned, what is it that I want to be focusing on? My focus is actually on student accommodation and block of flats.
Right.
So that's what I want to do, and that's what I've actually been working on. And the lessons that I have learned, because some of the things that were just beyond my imagination. I did not think that at some point I could be talking about owning a block of flats, whether it's a small unit or it's something that was just a pipeline dream. But you realize when you interact with people that it is possible with the right people, with the right knowledge, with the right education. Some of these things are quite possible, and as long as you are prepared to work hard.
Listen, I want to park you there, brah, because you're speaking my language, man. You're speaking my language in terms of you got a dream, right? But how do you bring it to reality in terms of actions, right? So you're saying that at some point you're digging in this 1 bed, 1 bath, but you've actually realized that you can do more. So you're chasing the bigger deals, right? And the question that I want to ask you is, from an individual perspective, how do you actually transition from that to that intentionally, because you're doing it intentionally here, right? And it's, to me, it sounds like you've actually sat down and you looked at yourself and you thought hard about it. And you're like, this no more. I want to get here. But if I get here, this is the work that I'm going to do. It's going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. But I want you to kind of like give us a step-by-step in which how you have done it to get to the big projects that you want to get to now.
It's about the journey, like I said, that I sat down and said, this is where I want to go. Right. I said, if I want to do this on a full-time basis, it means I would need to have an income probably equivalent to what I'm currently earning. Right. So that when I leave that, my family is not going to struggle. Right. So I then sat down and say, with the 1 bed and 2 bathroom, I will not be able to get there probably the time that I've actually set myself for. So I then said, you know what, I've got a property in Rustenburg. It's just a 1 unit in Rustenburg. One of the units, by the way, that I bought that I had not even seen. The first time I saw that property was when I went to fetch the keys after it was transferred. So
I thought I was risky. You were more risky than I am, man.
The first time I saw that property was when I went to collect the keys. I called the auctioneer. They said, no, go call this person. He'll give you the keys. I called that person. He said, the keys are with the caretaker. Right. Called the caretaker, went to the caretaker. Okay, which number is it? It's 49. I went to view it. Okay, not too bad. Tiling and bathroom needs to be done, but otherwise the property is still intact. And I then established the working relations with the caretaker. I left the keys because I stay in Pretoria, in Centurion to be specific. So it's about more than 150 Ks to Rustenburg. So she then started sort of managing it for me in terms of whenever tenants would call, at least she is there to assist me. So I said, if what I want to do and the type of life that I want, it's not going to be, I'll not be able to achieve that through the 1 bed, 2 bathroom and the 3 bedroom flat and the properties that I was buying. So I also spend the same amount of time. If I had a block of flat in Rustenburg, it's still the 150 Ks that I spend when I go and view, the 3 bedroom unit that I have. So it's also about the time as well. To say I need to start, valuing my time as well. So that if I decided to drive to Rustenburg, at least I am going to view my block of flat and attend to all my tenants instead of just attending to 1 unit. So it was more of time as well, but also more of a journey of where I want to be. If I want to be a full-time property investor, I will not be able to get there by the time that I want. So it was more of refocusing what I want to do, and with the education and the knowledge that one has also obtained through the many coaching sessions and the mentors that I've had, it then gravitate me towards that direction, because I did not think that it would have been possible for me to talk about the block of flats. But if I want to do it full time and also value my time, it is something that I had to consider that I'll have to do that. And amongst them will be your block of flats and the multi-units as well.
Talking of all of this, Lesetja, I know that you're married. You've just told us that you are married into the land of the beautiful women in Botswana. You got kids. I know you got kids. You are attending seminars. You are going to see properties. You are still an employee with your employer. Like, this is a lot of things on your plate, bruh. How do you balance all of this?
Add to that was the fact that I think last year I was a student with 2 institutions, UNISA and University of Johannesburg, all at the same time. There was a time, TJ, when especially last year, the first semester,
Right.
where I was attending with the two institutions. I was completing one qualification and had just started a new one with UNISA. So at
Right.
that time, and my work is too demanding as well. So I would be in the office. If I'm late, 5:30, I would be in the office.
Half
So the
past five in
latest
the morning.
in the morning, I
If
must
you
be
are
in the office.
late,
If I'm late, if I by 5:30 I am not in the office, I am late to
wow.
begin my day.
So
Then I
which
would
means
start
that you potentially waking up at what, 3 in the morning
at
for
four
you to
o'clock.
prepare and get there. Oh, you're a little bit closer to the office.
Yeah, not far. It's about what? There's no traffic at that time, the time of the
Sure.
morning. So 15, 20 minutes drive.
And but what time does your day end though?
As a senior manager, I think you would know your day never ends, basically. Practically, it never ends. But I never leave the office before 6 o'clock in the evening. So my family hardly saw me because in the morning, 5 o'clock, I should be in the office studying.
Right.
And my day would then begin at 8 o'clock.
In the office,
So
okay?
in the office. So I'll study in the office so that just to beat traffic as well. So I'd go to the office and study, be in the office, study in the office. And my day would then start at 8 o'clock. Then I'm an employee now. Start my work, and 6 o'clock I knock off. Then I would go to the gym as well. And then 8 o'clock I get home. So but the balance, it's very important. I think the beauty about it is that my wife is also an entrepreneur as well, and what we also do, we take our kids along. So my kids understand that if I am not available, I said, and the beauty is I go with them. When I go to view properties, I go with my kids.
Right.
They've got their own books where I say to them, you go and take notes, and we are going to discuss each and every property. Although their understanding of a property, for example, my daughter would say, no, but I didn't like those tiles, or this and the minor things that can be fixed. But it's about getting them on board and have them understand. I got them because I've got iPads because of the homeschooling. I got them the Rich Poor Dad for the kids. So they've also read and understood that. My daughter would tell you what an asset is. My kids would tell you what a liability is. I tell you that no, this asset, our house. So it means our house is a liability. I said yes, it is, because we are paying for the bond, we are paying for this, we are paying for that. So it's about taking them along so that they understand your journey, and also to bring them along, because it is also important as parents, which is something that hardly happens amongst the Black communities. We never discuss the issue of money. It's taboo to discuss the issue of money and say, the parents will just tell you, no, I don't have money. That's the end of it. So we sit down with our kids. We sit down with our kids and say, this is what I'm spending my money on. You see, the trip that you went to, yes, we paid for it. The clothes that you're wearing, let's go to the shop. And sometimes it's also to give them that responsibility and say, here is the 100 rand. You said you want school shoes. Let's go and buy them. So that they understand where that 100 rand comes from and also where it is going.
Yeah. I want to steal something from your book, so of doing life with your family. I'm passionate about building strong families, and my senior pastor, he's passionate around that, and I take that from him. Most of because of the fact that of my own background. So I want to do the best for my kids, but give them like different experiences around that. And I like that. I like the fact that you're going out to properties and there's an action for them. So for instance, my boy is 12. We do go to properties together, but he's tagging along and with no task. So I like that task thing, which is great because there's a learning around it. But I also want to correct you. My wife is mixed, right? She's colored. And I've got So I want to say that my circle of people around me are of all races, right? And I want to kind of like correct you to say, from a black community, we don't speak about money.
Mm.
It is factual that parents or people that are not financially aware and see that I've run away from the race. And I see this with my white counterparts, friends and relatives that I also have within, and it's the elite in our societies. And unfortunately for us, the elites are more on the white side. But if I go like overseas where some of my friends are, who are, like super white, like old generations white, where there's no black people and things like that, the same struggles are there where financial awareness, financial intelligence is not there. And that's a big problem that we've got in our communities, where we are not vocal around it. And it's because our parents didn't talk about it. So we don't talk about it. And this is where I think one of my passions is, Lesetja, where this is, we're talking with my business partners, and I was saying, I want to start this podcast thing. Because number one, people were saying, yeah, there's not so many people who are doing properties. And I'm like, no, they are. We just don't know them. We're not just celebrating them, right?
Absolutely.
And we were like saying, yeah, but there are not so many black people doing this. They are there, but we're not just celebrating them. No, but there is no more females that are doing. No, they are there, but we're not just celebrating them. And for me, I want to raise that bar so that we can change our thinking. Because amongst ourselves, there is one or two people, like look at you, I'm borrowing something from your book here, of I can take my child, like the amount of properties that I now have, every day with my child, we can go to a property. And that's an immense learning that we can start to be doing every day. So yes, I do take him, but there is no practical learning in it. And I'm gonna take that. But I want to jump on to give you almost like a comment and questions to say, you've been at it now, Lesetja, for almost 2 decades. A lot of it has been from a learning perspective, as you put it across. But I see it as winning, though. I mean, buying 4 units and selling another 5, 6, that's a great achievement. There are others that are hitting 60. They've never even bought one property at all. So well done to you.
Thanks, TJ.
Having said that, I want to stress the fact that from when you started off to where you are now, at some point you were like, if I buy properties, these are the benefits I'm looking for. So far on your journey, what has been some of the benefits that you've been seeing that property gives you?
I think the major one about property, TJ, last year, I've been married for last year we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary with my wife.
Good. Well done, buddy.
Thanks, TJ. And you need a partner. Most of the successful people is people who've got partners right, who can root for them, and you support each other. So the property that we bought in Rustenburg actually paid for our wedding.
Oh.
This time around we didn't sell it because I've got knowledge. I didn't sell it. I simply refinanced it, and we had a white wedding because my wife has always wanted white wedding, and financially previously we were not ready. So, but this time around, because I do have that knowledge, so we said, no, we're not going to sell it. We're simply just going to refinance it because I bought it at the basement price. Bought it for about 340,000 when it was valued at 650,000. Right. So we simply just took that. Basically, the tenant paid for my wedding.
You're quite cheeky, man.
my tenants paid for my wedding.
That's it. That's your tagline. You're going to stick to it.
I'm sticking to it.
That's good stuff. Well done on that. And we're just drawing close to the end now, and a couple of questions that I want to ask you, Lesetja, just to know you a little bit better. You sound like you are a guy who is always wanting to improve themselves from a learning perspective. Is there one book maybe that you can kind of like tell us that, this is your favorite business book maybe?
It's a lot. It's both business and also personal development,
Sure.
because you can't separate the two.
I
I mostly have been focused on the biographies,
Right.
So that's what I've actually been focusing on, reading during my spare time. And one of the guys that I like, it's not a biography per se, but one of the guys that I like, it's Malcolm Gladwell. Whether you're talking about the tipping point, but one of the books that I like, it's David versus Goliath, where he talks about the advantages of disadvantages and the disadvantages of advantages. So where you think that you've got an advantage, that could be a disadvantage, because we tend to relax as well. And the books would obviously be, I think, almost every property investor. It's Your Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I've got most of his series, the Rich Dad, that I'm currently reading, and I've also read. And at each and every point, I always go back to the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because I bought it, read it, but did not understand, or I understood but did not apply some of the teachings. So now most of the books that I buy, it's more of applying the teachings and say, what are we talking about when we talk about refinancing? What we talk about, what does it mean? And you apply those principles. So that's basically give me Malcolm Gladwell at any time, and Rich Dad, or Robert Kiyosaki.
Someone said to me the other day, Robert Kiyosaki has just published another book, but I've read one or two other books, and I mean, what else can he talk about? He's just blabbing up, and I didn't comment. I just walked away. And unfortunately, this is where we miss the education sometimes. And I'm glad that you're saying that you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You didn't understand it. Hey, I was in the same boat. And you went back into it again. And I think a lot of these books, right, you read them, depending on where you are in life, if you read them again, certain things kind of like jumps up.
True.
Cool. If you had to go back your younger self with what you now know now today, what advice would you give yourself?
It's to continue to learn as much as you can, and surround yourself with the right people.
Awesome
Have
stuff.
a vision where you want to go, and surround yourself with the people that are doing better than you, so that you can learn from them.
What are the things that you think separate successful real estate people than those that are not succeeding? You've been on the side of being an estate agent. You've been on the side. By the way, are you still an estate agent?
No.
Right. And now you are on the side of being an investor. And what's your thoughts there?
Well, what separates them is I think it's their tenacity, and their focus, and they continue to empower themselves. They don't say I've arrived. You've never arrived. You don't say I know it all. I was actually shocked to learn that even Robert Kiyosaki has a coach and has a mentor as well. If Robert Kiyosaki has such people, who are you not to have those people? The difference between the successful and the not so successful people is the education that they have, and also how they apply themselves, and also they continue to take other people along, because can be called up there. So you need as and when you are successful, there should be other people that you're taking along.
Awesome stuff. Whilst you're speaking of Robert Kiyosaki, in last year, 2019, myself, Rita, Jenna, we were in a 10-day class with Robert. And he had come from a boat cruise, and he said that he was attending training. So because we all know it's Robert, right? So I was like, oh, he was training on a boat cruise, you know what I mean? So lunchtime comes in and we're talking, and guess what happens? We have a disagreement about, was he being trained or was he training, right? And we all figured out that it wasn't on our table alone, but other people were also talking about the same topic. So when we were going back into class, someone had the guts to ask, sorry, you said you were on training, or were you training? And he says, no, I was in training. I was like you, I was sitting down. And I think he was 73 or 74 at that time. And it was such a mental shock to me, seeing such kind of an icon, such kind of a person, that they would also go into training. So, like what you're saying, come to think that a person like him would also have a coach, because they've seen it all, right? 4 or 5 decades. It is still going strong. So from that perspective, I think you're very right, Lesetja, that at any given time where we are in our life, I always say, life is like a stadium. You are at a different level. There's always someone above you. There's always someone below you. But we need to be walking whilst we are learning from other people, and whilst we are also pulling others. And I'm glad we share the same philosophies there. But it's been great having around you. Any closing comments from your side?
No, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think what you guys are doing at M5, it's quite remarkable. Taking other people along. So you guys may not realize the impact that you guys are making on other people. So it is quite amazing. But we do appreciate it, and let me tell you, you will be celebrated.
Awesome stuff. Hey, that was Lesetja Toona, and you had the story, the fascinating story to me. I clearly learned quite a lot from this guy. I thought I knew him, but definitely, and this is what life is all about, and this is why people are successful. And for me today, I have just added in about 2-3 things that I'm going to add based on what his story is all about. So we'll catch up again on to the next M5 Successful Friend, same time next week on a Friday. God bless. Goodbye.
Boom, boom.
I'm supposed to be saying boom, boom. Now,